Hi, welcome back to Positive Parenting with Granny Janie. Today I would like to talk about learning disabilities. Actually, I prefer to use the term learning differences. Let's face it, we all have our own style of learning and our own strengths and weaknesses, so some things are harder for us than others. For example, my short-term memory ain't the best, so I use lots of sticky notes all over the place to get me through the day. Works for me. So what's this mysterious thing called learning differences? And how do you get it? And if you have it, what do you do about it? Well, it has to do with the way a person's brain is wired. Some people just process information differently. Please understand, it affects people who have average or above average intelligence, so it has nothing to do with how smart a person is. When I taught students with learning differences, more than half the kids were in gifted programs. So there you go. Now, about 8 to 10% of children do have a learning difference. Excuse me. Sometimes these kids are thought of as lazy or just not trying hard enough, when actually he or she just learns in a different way or at a different pace. Now, some people think the only way to learn is by reading. Not true. Some people do learn by reading visually, but others learn by listening auditorily. Some learn by touching kinesthetically. So let's say your child is a strong auditory learner. Maybe he needs to hear a story before he can comprehend it. This is fascinating stuff. For instance, a person with the learning difference can recite the batting average of every player in the American League since 1952, but he can't remember the names of his classmates. Also, this person may read the word saw for was and God for dog. Or he can be super verbal and a voracious reader, but when you ask him to subtract 7 from 12, he comes up with 15. Children who have this can be impulsive and distracted, which sometimes results in disruptive classroom behavior. And when he's given work that's difficult for him, he might avoid it by acting out. The thinking is, I'd rather be bad than stupid. I saw this a lot in the classroom. Learning differences can manifest in one or more areas. Taking information in, that would be reading, listening, and or listening. Processing information, understanding what they're reading or hearing. Storing information, that deals with the long and short-term memory. And lastly, producing information, giving out what you learned by writing it or explaining it. On a positive note, which that's what I tend to try to be positive, by having a weakness in one area, another ability or area is strengthened. So out of these learning differences, new talents and skills will emerge. This person can also have trouble with planning and organizing, study skills, problem solving, or even just going from one activity to another. So now you ask yourself, how did my child get this? Well, sometimes it is a result of mom's pregnancy, some event during pregnancy. It could also be a result of a head injury if a child falls or something. Sometimes it runs in families. But before you go blaming your spouse or your sibling, keep in mind, sometimes there's no cause for it. Now, how do you know your child has it? Well, preschool and kindergarten teachers sometimes catch the early signs of this. And these signs can be slow in saying words or sentences, slow in vocabulary growth, hard time telling right from left, sorting by size or shape or color, sorting things, understanding or following one-step directions, recognizing letters or rhyming words, memorizing letters or memorizing the days of the week, having a hard time doing fine motor like cutting, writing, drawing, remembering what was just said or what was just read to him, understanding the concept of time, and reversing letters, words, numbers. Now, kids do reverse, and this happens, but as long as it stops at some point, especially it should be gone by the end of second grade, Whether you see any of these signs in your child or not, here are some fun and effective activities that are great to do with your kids to strengthen his learning skills. Now, these are multimodality activities, which means your child will be seeing them, hearing them, touching them. In other words, he's using all three modalities to take in information and process it. Start by having him write his name. There are many ways to do this. Put several different names on index cards, including his, and let him pick his name out, identify it. Put letters, one letter per each index card to spell out his name, and have him put them in order to spell his name. Write his name in highlighter, and have him trace it, first with his finger, then with a fat pencil or crayon. Use a full piece of paper to give him lots of room. He can write his name in the air with his finger, eyes open, eyes closed. You can write his name on his back. He can write it on your back. Now, you could also do all this with letters and numbers too. And here's my favorite. Get a shoebox lid or any other big shallow lid and pour in a bunch of kosher salt. And now you have a salt box to write in. He can practice writing by using his finger in the salt. Just shake to erase. It's always fun for kids, and it's so kinesthetic. Whether your child has processing issues or not, this multimodality approach is an effective way to burn information into his brain. That's what I used to tell the kids. It's burning it into your brain. Now, this is super important. Directionality. So when he's writing, always start at the top and go down, whether it's I, L, the number 1, and always go from left to right when writing. And when writing the letter 0, I mean the number 0 or the letter O, go counterclockwise. This directionality gets him ready for reading, what we call pre-reading skills. And when he does start to read stories, have him draw a picture. The boy walked onto the boat. Have him draw a picture of a boy walking on the boat. Really helps with comprehension. Now, when giving directions, give him bite-sized directions. Break it down into little steps. You can even ask him to repeat the directions back to you to make sure he understands. Okay, when going from one activity to another, give him a 5-minute warning. You can even break it down minute to minute, do a countdown if you have the time. It helps with transitioning. If he gets homework at this age, do the hardest assignments first, because that's when he's fresh and has energy. And save the easiest assignments for last. A learning difference is not usually diagnosed until your child is in school, because that's when the difficulties may arise. And if he's not learning as expected, the school may want to evaluate him with your permission. However, if you have concerns, you can always request an evaluation. Remember that. Praise your child when he does well and provide activities where he feels success. Finish a puzzle and leave like 3 pieces out, and they say, "Come here, finish this puzzle for me." And then they feel so good about themselves because they completed it. Encourage him to pursue his talents and interests. We all have them. And just remember, your child can learn, he can reach his goals, and he can succeed. Okay, remember to parent with love and respect, not fear or control. See you next time.